There's something undeniably fascinating about emotional distance, especially when you're dealing with someone who runs the moment connection feels too real. They act cold, composed, unreachable. But don't be fooled. Behind that guarded exterior is someone who notices everything. Not through dramatic gestures or loud declarations, but through the smallest, softest, most unexpected moments. The truth is, even avoidants, those who shy away from emotional closeness, can't help but be moved by certain things women do. The obvious ones, not seduction or strategy, but the kind of moments that come from authenticity, vulnerability, and quiet strength. Today, we're diving into the 7 adorable things that melt even the most avoidant hearts, whether they show it or not. Because when you show up in these small but powerful ways, even those who act cold can't help but feel the warmth. There's something hauntingly powerful about a woman who lets go without making it a scene. No angry texts, no dramatic accusations, no endless explanations meant to make him feel guilty. Just silence, stillness, peace. When she senses that emotional doors are slowly closing, instead of pounding on them or begging to be let in, she simply steps back. Not to punish, but to protect her own peace. The kind of graceful exit creates a ripple effect that even the most emotionally unavailable man can't ignore. It's not about manipulation. It's about self-possession. She doesn't disappear to get a reaction. She disappears because her soul recognizes when she's no longer being met with the same energy. That recognition is far louder than words. Avoidants are used to people chasing after them. They've grown accustomed to people and to trying to decode their distance or fix their discomfort. A woman does the opposite. When she accepts the space without resistance, it challenges their entire emotional blueprint. She's not playing the role he subconsciously expects. She's not feeding his need for control or proving his fear that closeness always ends in chaos. Instead, she gives him what he silently craves, but doesn't know how to ask for room. But the difference is her room is an anxious void. It's a boundary, soft but firm closing of her heart's door. And that's when something begins to shift inside him. Because even though he may act like her detachment doesn't bother him, it does. Deeply, he notices the shift in her tone, the absence of her check-ins, the fact that she no longer fills the empty spaces between their silences. While he may not rush back right away, her calm withdrawal plants a seed in his mind, one that begins to grow every time he feels her absence. What makes her so unforgettable in that moment is not that she left, but how she left. No chaos, no clinging. Just clarity, a quiet understanding that her value doesn't require convincing someone to see it, and that's exactly what sticks with him. Because for someone who runs from intensity, that kind of woman becomes the exception. He may try to brush it off. He may bury himself in distractions. But her image, her strength, her softness, her serenity lingers. It lingers in the spaces she used to fill and in the silence that now echoes in her place. And one day, when the noise fades and the distractions no longer satisfy, raying on Netflix, he'll remember the one who walked away, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. And that memory, that feeling, that unexplainable ache will haunt him in the most beautiful way. There's a kind of magic in a woman who finds genuine joy in the little things. She could be laughing at a silly meme, humming her favorite song while making coffee, pausing to admire how the evening light hits the sky just right. These small, innocent moments may seem trivial to some, but to someone emotionally guarded, they hold a different kind of power. Avoidants who often feel weighed down by the pressure of emotional intimacy peck to comfort in watching someone so freely connected to life's simple pleasures. It's disarming. It's pure. It makes them feel something they weren't prepared to feel safe. Because this kind of joy isn't demanding. It doesn't require anything from them. Netflix, it doesn't pressure them to talk, open up, or perform emotionally. It's just there like sunlight through a window, asking for nothing but to be noticed. Even if he pretends not to be looking, he is. He watches her from the corner of his eye, quietly absorbing the warmth she brings into a space without trying. And in those moments, something in him softens. Maybe he doesn't say it. Maybe he keeps his posture rigid and his face unreadable. But deep down, he's affected. Her joy reminds him of something he lost, something he's long buried beneath years of emotional defense. It reminds him of a time when he felt light, curious, and open. While he may not know how to get back to that place himself, being near someone who lives in that frequency touches something ancient inside him. It doesn't scare him, it soothes him. It gives him a momentary escape from his own inner noise. When she laughs without restraint or dances to her favorite song alone in the kitchen, he sees a kind of freedom he secretly envies. She's not trying to be adorable, but she is. Because in a world that rewards control and coolness, her unfiltered joy is rebellion. It's innocence wrapped in strength. It's the kind of thing you don't realize you need until you're around it. And once you are, it becomes hard to forget. She lights up at the sound of rain or gets excited about something small like a new book or her favorite dessert. These things stick. They lodge themselves in the mind of a person who's spent their life avoiding emotional vulnerability. And here's the real kicker. This joy of hers, it isn't for him. It's hers. It exists with or without him, which only makes it more magnetic. Because she's not seeking validation, she's experiencing life. And in doing so, she becomes the very thing he didn't know he was longing for. A reminder that love doesn't have to be heavy. That connection doesn't always mean conflict. And that sometimes the most beautiful thing a woman can do is simply be happy, genuinely, unapologetically, joyfully happy. There's a quiet fire in a woman who can stand her ground without raising her voice. She doesn't need to shout guilt or manipulate to make her boundaries known. She simply holds them with clarity, calmness, and unwavering self-respect. And while an avoidant may act unbothered in the moment, this kind of strength doesn't go unnoticed. In fact, it strikes a chord deep within them. Because they're used to one of two responses when they pull away desperation or anger. They've seen people beg for closeness out in frustration. But when she responds with grace and firmness, instead, it shakes their internal pattern. She's not chasing and she's not punishing. She's just refusing to shrink. That's rare and it's powerful. In those moments of tension, when most people get emotional or reactive, she stays centered, not cold, not detached, but aware of her worth, her limits, and what she will no longer accept. She's not afraid to lose someone who doesn't meet her standards, and that confidence radiates in ways even she might not realize. An avoidant may try to dismiss her stance or minimize her needs, but internally they're grappling with a new reality she's not easy to break. Deeply attractive to someone who secretly fears emotional chaos. Her boundary becomes a mirror, reflecting back to him the areas where he's used avoidance to feel powerful. But now, the power dynamic has shifted. Not through control, but through composure. There's something undeniably alluring about a woman who can say, "This doesn't work for me," without blame or bitterness. It creates tension, yes, but the kind that awakens respect. Because even if the avoidant tries to pull away after that, even if he acts unfazed or indifferent, he's not. Her strength stays with him. It lingers in his memory during quiet nights, resurfacing when others fail to match her energy. She stood up for herself without dehumanizing him. That's rare. That's unforgettable. Perhaps what makes her so magnetic in these moments is that she doesn't make herself respect loud or performative. She's not trying to prove anything. She's simply choosing peace over chaos, alignment over attachment. And in doing so, she sends a powerful message that I care, but I won't collapse to keep you. For someone with an avoidant attachment style, this is both confronting and captivating because it offers a new model of connection, one rooted in mutual respect, emotional dependency. Her boundaries aren't walls, they're doors, and she decides who walks through them. That kind of inner stability can't be faked, certainly can't be ignored. So even if he walks away thinking he's unaffected, deep down, he's already changed. Because she didn't try to control him, she mastered herself. And to a man who fears being consumed by closeness, that kind of strength is both the safest and most irresistible thing of all. There's an incredible strength in a woman who knows how to love without losing herself. It's a delicate balance, especially when dealing with someone who tends to pull away or keep emotional distance. She gives her heart generously, yes. She doesn't let her identity dissolve into the relationship. She understands that love is not about sacrifice to the point of self-erasure, connection that honors both people as whole and separate beings. This ability to maintain her own sense of self while still offering genuine care creates a magnetic energy that even avoidants find hard to resist. Avoidants often fear intimacy because they worry about losing themselves in the process. They've seen relationships where boundaries vanish. They become engulfed by another's needs and emotions, and it overwhelms them. But when a woman loves in a way that respects both her own boundaries and his, it challenges their usual fears. She's not desperate for closeness or validation, but she's present and open. This presence, grounded in self-awareness and strength, creates a paradox for the avoidant. Here is someone who offers connection without the suffocating pressure they dread. It's a safe harbor in a sea of emotional storms. She nurtures the relationship with care, but never at the cost of her peace or values. When she prioritizes her own growth, passions, and joy, it sends a quiet but powerful message. She's not dependent on the relationship for her happiness. This independence doesn't push him away, it pulls him closer. Because it's authentic. She's not pretending to be whole, she is whole. And that level of self-possession is rare and attractive. It reassures the avoidant that being close doesn't mean losing control. It can mean expanding together. This balance also means she doesn't tolerate being sidelined or dismissed. If he needs space, she respects it, but she won't ignore her own needs in the process. She communicates clearly and kindly about what she requires to feel safe and valued. This clarity reduces confusion and anxiety for both sides. The avoidant, who may struggle with emotional cues, begins to trust her steadiness. She becomes a reliable force, not a source of emotional chaos. In loving without losing herself, she models a healthier way of relating, one where both people can be seen, heard, and accepted. For the avoidant, this is revolutionary. It's an invitation to connect without fear of being swallowed whole. And over time, it softens the walls they built to protect themselves. Because when love isn't a trap but a choice, even the most guarded hearts start to open. There's a profound impact when a woman truly sees a man, not just the surface, but the effort beneath his sometimes rough edges. She notices when he tries, even if he stumbles. She acknowledges the small victories he might downplay or overlook himself. This genuine celebration of his growth, without exaggeration or empty flattery, speaks to something deep inside an avoidant's heart. Avoidants often struggle with feeling understood or appreciated because they mask their vulnerabilities behind distance. When she recognizes the effort he puts in, it chips away at his defenses in ways words alone never could. This kind of recognition isn't about praising perfection or demanding more. It's about noticing progress and honoring the journey. It might be as simple as complimenting how he handled a difficult conversation better than before, or appreciating when he opened up just a little more than usual. To someone who fears emotional exposure, these moments of being seen without judgment become anchors. They create a quiet trust that encourages him to keep trying. He's unsure of the path. What makes this so irresistible to an avoidant is the authenticity behind it. She's not trying to manipulate or control with praise. She's genuinely invested in who he is becoming, not just who he is right now. That kind of patience and belief can be transformative. It gives him space to grow at his own pace, feeling pressured or rushed. And that respect for his timing is something avoidants crave, but rarely experience. Moreover, when she celebrates his efforts, she reinforces a positive cycle of connection. It encourages him to be more open and present because he knows his progress matters to her. This isn't about changing him or fixing him. It's about holding a mirror that reflects his strengths and potential. And that mirror, held by someone who cares deeply, becomes a powerful motivator. Even if he doesn't say it, this recognition builds a bond. It softens the walls he's built, making space for more vulnerability and trust over time. He begins to realize that he can be accepted, not despite his flaws, but alongside his growth. And for someone who's guarded by nature, acceptance is one of the most profound gifts he can receive. In a world where avoidants often feel misunderstood or overlooked, this genuine celebration becomes a beacon of hope, connection, and lasting affection. There's a powerful message hidden in the moments when a woman chooses silence over confrontation. She reaches her limit, not with anger or loud accusations, but with a quiet, deliberate withdrawal. She communicates something avoidants can't easily ignore. This silence isn't cold or distant in a careless way. It's intentional and full of meaning. It says, "I've given you my attention, my care, my patience. Now, choosing to protect myself." And for someone who often uses emotional distance as a shield, this kind of clear boundary is both a challenge and a revelation. Tend to fear emotional intensity and conflict because it threatens their sense of control and safety. When a woman chooses silence instead of escalating drama, it disrupts the usual patterns. There's no chaos for them to run from, no emotional roller coaster to brace against. Instead, a calm finality that leaves no room for misinterpretation. This type of silence isn't about punishment or manipulation. It's about clarity and self-respect. Hold space for both people to reflect without the pressure to immediately fix or explain. What makes this silence so unforgettable is its elegance. She doesn't storm out. She doesn't slam doors. She simply steps back with grace, letting her absence speak louder than any argument could. That absence creates a kind of tension that is more profound than any confrontation. It forces him to reckon with what's been lost and what he might lose if he doesn't change. For avoidants who are used to pushing others away or being pushed, this silence can be startling because it isn't reactive, it's deliberate. This moment of quiet can leave a lasting impression because it signals a boundary that cannot be crossed without consequence. It teaches that love is not unconditional acceptance of emotional neglect or disrespect. Instead, love includes respect for oneself and the courage to walk away when that respect is compromised. And that lesson, delivered through silence, resonates deeply, even if he doesn't immediately acknowledge it. Over time, this kind of silence can stir reflection and growth. The avoidant, often uncomfortable with emotional confrontation, is given space to face their own role in the breakdown. They may not respond right away or at all, but the impact lingers. The image of her walking away without bitterness, but with firm resolve, stays with him. It plants a seed that sometimes takes root long after the moment has passed. In choosing silence, she shows that she values herself enough not to settle for less, and that kind of strength, quiet, dignified, unyielding, is a force even avoidants can't resist. It's a reminder that respect and love go hand in hand, and that sometimes the most powerful message is the one spoken through absence, not words. When it comes to avoidance, the cool exterior often masks a deep sensitivity to the subtle, authentic ways a woman shows herself. Grand gestures or loud declarations that capture their attention. It's the quiet strength, the genuine joy, the clear boundaries, the unwavering self-respect that truly move them. Even if they act distant or cold, these small but powerful behaviors leave an indelible mark on their hearts. Understanding this helps us see that connection with avoidance isn't about chasing or changing them, but about embodying authenticity and grace in our own way. A woman loves herself fully, celebrates growth without pressure,